I want to hear from different voices. I don't want to just hear from people that agree with me. We're about to dive into some even deeper topics. Ask a Brother Podcast.
Ask a Brother Podcast.
Welcome to another episode of Ask a Brother Podcast. I'm your host, Jeff St. James. You know, the revolution is going to be because of us.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a special announcement. Thanks to Chicago's very own DJ the Money Coach, we're celebrating the sponsorship for Ask a Brother podcast and the grand opening of our luxurious resort in Zanzibar, Tanzania. DJ's giving away an incredible grand prize in March, a 7-day, 6-night stay in paradise, complete with ground transportation, incredible excursions, your own personal chef on the white sand beaches, and breathtaking sunsets. All you have to do is text BROTHA, B-R-O-T-H-A, to 972-640-9572, or scan the QR code for your chance to win. Pack your bags and we will see you in paradise. Again, text BROTHA, B-R-O-T-H-A, to 972-640-9572.
Let's go. Welcome to another episode of Ask a Brother Podcast. I'm your host, Jeff St. James. And listen, man, I am excited about this week. Actually, this week and next week, man, we have some surprise guests. I have a few things just to state, and then we're going to jump straight into this episode because I'm excited about this episode, man. So one, make sure that you like this, subscribe if you're not a subscriber. And if you are not a member, what are you doing? Feel free to become a member because that is the ultimate way to show love and support. Of course, there's other ways, which I'll get into briefly, but I'm going to tell you guys this, man. Thank you. And welcome to everybody who's been supporting the brand, supporting the channel. It's been a cool ride so far up until this point. And I just eyeballed it maybe like 3-4 hours ago or so. And I eyeballed and saw that we are at 49,787 subscribers as of about 3 hours ago. So we probably have a little bit more. So guys, we are so close to 50,000 subscribers from January till last January till now. So kudos. Yeah. Yes, sir. So listen, man, absolutely excited just to hit that 50,000 subscriber mark. We already cleared 5 million at the end of last week as far as channel views. So we are building. I'm like, could we hit 100,000 before the end of this year? I have no idea, but thank you to all the subscribers, all the members. And if you're not a member, the easiest way is just, just join. It's $2.99. That's the number one easiest way to show love and support. Of course, there's other ways like hitting the super chat button or feeling free to donate to the Cash App and or PayPal links for sure. So real quick, let me eyeball and see who's in the building. So if you're here, please make sure you let me know for sure. Shout out to First Player 585, first one up in the building, along with Mrs. Plum. I see. Thank you, Mrs. Plum. And she's already starting things off. Thank you. So Miss Maggie is in the building. Thank you, Miss Maggie, for the $1.99 super sticker for sure. Let me see who else is here. Noah sees the contradictions. My boy. Appreciate you, man. What's happening, man? Cynical optimist. Thank you for pulling up. Let me see who else. So thank you. Yes, it is crazy to realize like we are so freaking close to 50,000 subscribers. And I believe that the plans I've been saying and kind of hyping on and saying for a minute that's coming, I think we'll be announcing it officially in April. But I will state as of now, if members are going to be the first ones to know first, but I will absolutely be posting a link pretty soon. And thank you, Brandon, for the super chat, man. Fox News. Yeah, man. Shout out to Turkey Teeth, man. It's a dense spot. People for taking care of me, man. So real quick, I'm going to make sure. Thank you. I'm going to be making sure that in the very, very, very near future, we're going to be posting a link, and we're going to want everybody's email address. That's what we're going to want. Everybody's email address. Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Because members are going to be the first ones to get the announcement / link. And then after that, all of those who we have their emails will be the next ones to get that once we post the link, either maybe the next couple weeks or so. And then once that announcement goes out, we'll notify you of what the actual project was, and then also where we will be heading to celebrate this milestone mark for both myself and the channel for sure. So thank you to the subscribers. Thank you to the members. Movie Book Club is tonight, 8:30 Eastern Standard Time, right after this. Feel free to click in on any of the links that's on the channel description. Tomorrow night, we're going to be doing the men's virtual self-improvement group. We'll be actually starting to talk about which will be what we have been watching, which is The Pursuit of Happiness. So yeah, tonight, Lovecraft Country, which I've only watched for the first time today. So don't kill me, y'all. But tomorrow, for the men's self-improvement group, it'll of course be the Will Smith Pursuit of Happiness. Wednesday, we will resume the men's table, and then on Thursday I will have a surprise guest lined up, and all I can state as of now is that he is an actor. So thank you, Mrs. Plum, for the links. Feel free to check them out. Both groups have been beyond what I could have hoped for, and I'm very excited about the things that we're going to be expanding on pretty quickly. But listen, y'all, without further ado, and shout out to both of our sponsors before I get in trouble. Thank you to Disable Botanical Farms for the healthy alternative products, which you saw earlier. Feel free to check them out. Click on the link. Use the code that was mentioned in the video, AskABrother10 for 10% off your next purchase. And thank you to the DJ Money Club Durangsburg folks that's from the Escape to Zanzibar, where you get to enter for a chance to win. Text the number that was in the video, and you'll also get more information on the different packages and travel. Telling you guys, both these groups are official, and I appreciate them for sponsoring tonight's episode. But listen, y'all, without further ado, tonight's episode I think is going to be really good, and it's just going to be me because we haven't really done one of these in a minute. And tonight's topic is from prime to decline, an analysis. And let me make sure I have everything up that I need, because this is going to be decent. Let me pull it up. And everybody's here, man. T for our voting Republicans. Y'all are crazy, man. Y'all gonna leave my teeth alone, man. I'm trying to. Y'all want me to have broken yellow teeth or something? So listen, man. For starters, tonight's episode is going to be about female psychology and dating from prime to decline, an analysis on women hitting the wall. So this is going to be a very serious topic. Although people will typically make a lot of jokes about this, I'm going to state right off the front, I think this is going to be one of the most important episodes that I think I've done. I think it may have to end up being a part 1 and part 2, just simply put, because well, quite frankly, I don't even think that we're in a position to where I can complete it all just off the strength of everything I was kind of looking into. But like I said before, this particular episode is near and dear. I know a lot of people. I know a lot of people who have gone through this. We've seen a lot of famous people, well-off people, or well-off women, family members, friends, and when it comes to hitting the wall, we see the compilations, the videos, women crying in the car, women saying a lot of things that they're upset with, and it's a shock that for a lot of them, it kind of hits them. And a lot of us will always say, well, what are they shocked for? They know that Mother Nature and Father Time doesn't miss anyone, and what, they played games in their 20s. But I think there's a little bit more going on, and I think after this particular episode, there's a few things that I hope we can get better at. Number one, I hope that for the women who are younger that may come across this particular video, and please make sure that you send it to every woman that you know, by the way. I hope for the women that's younger that still has a lot of options, that they recognize that time waits for no one, and that they kind of learn from the mistakes of the women that didn't get it. For the women that are maybe a little bit older, past their reproductive years, not in their quote unquote prime, that they realize that they may have to recalibrate what it is that they're looking for, versus thinking that they have the leverage that they don't. Obviously, a lot of people can see this as a joke and a laugh, and there might be a couple moments where I can kind of laugh here and there, but upon really looking into this and deep diving into it, I felt and understood what and why it is that a lot of women do it. I understand the environment that creates the odds for something like this to happen. And my hope again is that in the end, we just make better, wiser, and smarter decisions wherever we are on the age, beauty, reproductive spectrum, as far as people, but more specifically women, of course. So again, today's topic is female psychology and dating from prime to decline, an analysis on women hitting the dating wall. So I'm going to do a decent amount of PowerPoint, and the first thing we're going to start off with is the validation economy, early prime to early mid 20s. So I'm going to play a clip, and then we're going to start touching base into kind of why it is that this topic even matters to begin with. All right, so stay tuned.
When I realized I couldn't listen to women's opinion on men, I realized I couldn't listen to it when I was in school, right? Middle school, high school. Y'all remember like the light skin face? Everybody was on, everybody was all right. I remember the girls back then would make fun of the dudes who would do the light skin face in their pictures, right? They would still hook up with them dudes, and I was just like, he does the things that you say are cringy and they're weird and this, that, and the third. But then you'll be hooking up with him though. They be talking about how this dude's an F-boy and this dude's an F-boy and how he's cringy. But then you turned into one of his bodies. I couldn't understand it. And I remember I saw a video on here on TikTok where dude was like, we can't hold any men accountable if y'all keep hooking up with the men that you were telling us to hold accountable. I'm saying that again in case I lost you. We can't hold these men accountable if y'all are still giving up the cooter to these men. How are we supposed to hold him accountable and tell him that what he's doing is wrong when you're reinforcing his behavior by throwing cooter at him? It doesn't make sense. I had to add this bit on. I remember I was friends with this girl, right? And she would talk about how this dude, we went to the same gym or whatever. She would talk about how this dude that she was with was weird and he was cringy and this, that, and the third, right? I'm like, all right, cool, whatever. Fast forward, she's with dude, and then she's talking to me, talking about how she's so worried when she's gonna get the next text from him, and da 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 da. And now she's fiending over this dude that she would tell me was so cringy. You know what? Word of advice for the men: you're not in danger when a woman hates you. That's not when you're in danger. You're in danger when a woman is indifferent to your presence. She went from saying a dude was cringy and weird to now she's throwing cooter at bro. I don't get it.
All right, so for starters, the validation economy. And again, I'm going to dive a little bit into a behavioral, psychological, and even social analysis of what's going on. And shout out to that brother, man. He's hilarious with a lot of his takes and a lot of his content. And he's talking about something that tends to happen when women are extremely, extremely on the younger side, typically early to mid 20s. They have a tendency to prioritize certain things over others. And then obviously once they hit certain age milestones, when they get a little bit older, maybe more jaded, have enough of negative experiences, they have a whole different set of new priorities of what it is that they're looking for. Now, what it is that he pointed out was specifically he's hearing women stating one thing, but seeing them do something different. He's hearing women saying one thing, but doing something different. Those of us that's kind of grown up, in high school, college years, we kind of would note that a decent amount of ladies would often go through a significant period of time complaining about a certain type of guy. But then we would notice that they kept ending up with those types of guys. Now, shockingly, when they got older, heavier, maybe had a few kids, maybe hit certain, like I said, age milestones, you notice that they seemingly have no problem being able to look and acknowledge and deal with totally different men, which begs the question of what is it about when women are younger, not all, but many, that they tend to prioritize a lot of the quote unquote wrong guys. So with the validation economy, like I said before, early prime, early to mid 20s, we can kind of toss in the 18, 19-ish range as well. A few things are pretty much happening. Number one, from the psychological and sociological effects. During early adulthood, many women experience extremely high external validation, especially in modern day digital environments. Psychological effects and sociological as well can include frequent attention from men, social reinforcement or desirability, high optionality in dating, peer comparison culture. Unfortunately, this often creates what psychologists call choice abundance. When options feel endless, shockingly, their standards can actually start to increase, specifically as it relates to, let's say, sometimes superficial things, his hair, his beard, his height, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But also, the things we can typically kind of note and see is commitment urgency decreases and experimentation increases. Basically, from a psychological perspective, mentally they're more in an exploratory phase than in a settling phase. They want to try, they want to explore, they want to experience. We'll get into more of the weeds of exactly what it is that this looks like. But basically, what I'm stating is when women are younger and they have options, they are socialized, especially in an environment such as ours, especially relating to social media included, to where they're going to be inundated with a huge amount of attention from men. It's going to be socially reinforced, i.e., compliments, being asked out, gifts, et cetera, et cetera. High optionality, meaning that they're going to get a lot of options, way more than most men on the planet, including even really well off or rich men. And then as a consequence of this, as their standards start to increase for the types of men that they want to have access to and the types of men that they're going to ignore, their view on commitment shockingly actually goes down. We're going to delve into that towards the tail end of this, of how it is that they go from, going about options and dates and trips and which guy can do this, leaving guys on red, to eventually moving towards a stage where a lot of this stuff kind of flips on its head. So remember what the guy said in the video to start with. What's going on in an environment where this is happening with the population? Well, you could obviously imagine you could obviously imagine it's probably not good. So we're going to look and see exactly what's kind of happening, and then it's going to be fun. Not fun. Let me use the word. Let me take away the word funny from this whole conversation, because it's really not. But let me move to the next part. So the first thing that we're going to go into is what is actually happening in the early 20 stages. 20. All right. So as I stated before, this is what's going on to the average modern woman today, right? This is what they're actually helping to build their identity. Now, here's the problem. In previous generations, if you think about it, many of these things were not afforded to women, right? Education was more limited. Most women couldn't get it, couldn't have access to it. Social networks weren't quite what they were today, especially in terms of social media. Social networks were more tight knit as it related to like neighborhoods, particular religions or faith backgrounds. Career exploration, it was probably a lot more limited, right? Especially back in the day. And then obviously lifestyle experiences, you could imagine what that kind of sort of looks like as of today. And it makes sense when you think about it, that women who are now finding their identity in these things, where previous generations of women weren't, are now going to have more optionality of what it is that they're going to be looking for to quote unquote find purpose. So think about what I'm saying for a second. They have more options today of how it is that they can find them, quote unquote, find themselves, form up their identity. Now, what are some of the biopsychosocial behavioral traits and things that we're probably going to start to take notice of? Obviously, number one is romantic partners. Think of this, as a result of the things from above, the education, the social networking, the networks, career exploration, lifestyle experiences. Romantic partners can often be seen as therefore additions to life rather than the foundations of life. Slow down and think about what that means. If you took all the things that these ladies have access to today. All the things. Let's look at the list. And again, there's many, many more things to add to it. But in essence, this is the core things of what the modernized woman typically is going to do post high school. This is how she's going to now form her identity. That means less and less women may be looking to romantic partnership, family formation, being in the role of a wife. Those things are now seen more as a add-on, as a bonus, not as an integral part of what's a key foundation of what it means to live a truly fulfilling life. Now, obviously, kids aren't for everybody. Marriage isn't for everybody. But if a large percentage of ladies starts to think like this, what did I just say? Romantic partnership, family formation, and being the role of a wife is now going to be seen as an addition and not a staple of what it means to have a true, fulfilling life. Now, for starters, when I think about this, I don't know that we can say that that's necessarily a bad thing on an individual level. Fair, right? You don't want to say like your life is meaningless if you're not a husband, or your life has no meaning if you're not a father. But you could imagine in terms of the species and the culture, if too many people start to think this way, we're kind of moving into bad news bear territory. Novelty seeking, emotional intensity, attraction to charisma and excitement, prioritizing chemistry over stability. Now, think about these things are actually tied together, whether you realize it or not. When the things at the top are the primary focus for young women that's entering into their early 20s, late teens, early 20s, the things at the bottom, they're probably much more likely to pursue. When I was in college, Philadelphia Biblical University, the name changed for the Cairn University, PWI, predominantly white institution. I got to see a mix. A few Asian students, Black students, Hispanic students, and white students all showing up, ladies included, obviously. And I could tell, looking at this, which ladies, I could tell which ladies were heavily focused on the first four domains. And I could tell as a result what their focus would be. There were two types of young ladies that kind of were coming and entering into college. Those that were focused on the education, right? Getting ready for their career, travel, having fun, partying or whatever. And then there were those that were told by their family members, probably moms, that you're not just going to school just to get a degree. You're leaving with the college diploma and a ring. But there were also other ladies that went just for the college experience. And unfortunately, more and more and more ladies did that. So when you deprioritize long-term, lifelong romantic partnerships, being a wife, being a mother to said husband, being a mother with a husband to a kid, now you're kind of leaning towards filling up that time with the things at the bottom. Because if it was much, much greater of a priority for you to find when you're surrounded by the most men you're ever going to find that's in your educational bracket, who are also working towards being able to build up their lifestyle and be able to, make it further in life. If you didn't get it then, it was going to become substantially harder for you to get it later. And all the ladies will attest to this. 4 years, 5 years, 6, 7, 8 years of post-high school education, and prioritized only the education, prioritize only the career, prioritize only their traveling and experiencing certain lifestyles. That meant that dating then was seen as more of a hobby, something that they can just kind of do for fun. Whereas previous generations of women, notice how when they didn't have as much of these things, marriage, establishing a nuclear family, was seen as not just important, but an essential component of a foundation of a meaningful life. More and more women in modern times in the US, Canada, and abroad kind of picked the first part, which led them to the second part. Now, we could say, well, Jeff, what's the big deal? What's the issue? What's wrong with prioritizing education in your younger years, having fun and doing this, or that? Well, I'm going to tell you, and it's not going to be the greatest news because it's not exactly flattering. As a result of women prioritizing those things, i.e., getting certain jobs, careers, degrees, making a certain amount of income, their standard starts to go up. Now, many relationship psychologists note that women tend to be selective in mate choice because historically they bear greater reproductive risk. And during the prime attention phase, and we can say from 18 to 25, what can manifest? It's strong filtering. What do we mean by that? In their younger years, when they're their fittest, lightest, most fertile selves, they tend to be very strict, or they tended to have been very strict when it came to the types of men that they wanted to deal with. But they were only strict in certain ways and not others. They may have been strict in terms of aesthetics, in terms of how he looks, how they look with him, status, you name it. And when I say like higher standards in certain areas, a lot of things that they were having these very, very high standards on, we see it on Pop the Balloon. They're cutting guys off or eliminating guys because they got the wrong shoes on. They don't like his belt. They don't like his hairstyle. They don't like what he's wearing. But then as they get older, those things start to not be as important. But why are they doing this? Historically, hypergamy to a degree and hyperselectivity was still a thing. But as they got more options and as they started to, change their own personal standards as it related to their personal jobs, their careers, what they could afford, and the lifestyle they were trying to live, that meant a smaller pool of men were now fitting that bill. And because they were younger, they were able to have some degree of access to those men. Sometimes sexually, probably most of the time. Every so often, maybe relationally. But if they were not able to retain and keep him, as a result, we're going to see what ended up happening. So preferences for higher status partners, attraction to socially dominant men. We can just say, men who just had certain type, like we said, higher status. They had an aversion to perceived settling. What does that mean? That means that when they were younger and they had more options, they kind of had almost like a visceral reaction to feeling like they could settle. Like, why would I settle? I have athletes, I have good looking guys, I have lawyers and doctors and different guys shooting a shot at me. The last thing I want is to be with a guy that I feel like I'm settling for. And this is the era where a lot of times they start to, en masse, take a bunch of men that could be great husbands, great leaders, and great fathers, and set them to the side for the men that excites them, for the men they quote unquote really want. Because attention is high risk factors aren't seen as a social death sentence at that time. Why are they doing this? If you had to ask me, and people are not going to like what I'm about to say, it's because they could. Now, a lot of men will be confused. I'm like, exactly. So we shouldn't bail them out and we shouldn't this and shouldn't that. But I'm going to tell you something about human nature. I want you to at least think about it for a second. One of the big things that's been going on with professional athletes for years, people would talk about how their spending habits, right? They come out of, situations where they maybe were impoverished, not making a crazy amount of money, and then they make it into the league. And every so often we hear these crazy, insane stories for both celebrities, actors, even, entertainers, as well as athletes, where these people get this huge influx of money, generational money. And no, everybody doesn't squander it, but a lot of them do. And they say, how did you spend, MC Hammer, how did you spend millions and millions of dollars and have nothing to show for it? How? You had all these opportunities. And now you're filing bankruptcy. Now you got to sell all your stuff. Now you got to sell your childhood trophies. Like, it just sounds insane, right? I think there's a human element, whether you're a man or a woman, that not all of us, especially when we're younger, would be able to handle that much attention, that much power, and that much leverage over certain spaces. And when you're taking immature women, young women, adults, but still young women, and you're giving them the power that is the equivalent of oftentimes what men that are very wealthy or rich get, and you're thinking all of them are going to just handle it well. No. That's the truth, and we get it. Basically, their subconscious is set up. It's rigged to where it's always going to be another option. Now, people could say, well, why do they think that? Why would they feel that way? Why would they move that way? Well, because there is. There literally is always another option. Guys in the DMs saying good morning, beautiful, that he's been talking to himself for 6 months. Guys that are patiently waiting in the friend zone. Men that they kind of like, but doesn't excite them enough. Like, they have an influx of men from all walks of life wanting them. Why wouldn't they want the guy that they want? Even if it's not good for them. It may not make a lot of sense. You may feel like, that's stupid. But I'll tell you, man, from a human lens, even as a guy who did pretty well, back in the day in college and whatnot, I can acknowledge that when enough women threw themselves at you, it wasn't unusual for you to, take the bait. Unfortunately for them, in comparison to maybe their male counterparts, time doesn't treat us necessarily the same way. So I'm going to play a couple clips, and this particular clip is going to highlight that shift of how women were thinking in terms of stability and stable men, and recognizing what she wanted before and realizing what she wants now. What's that?
You attracted to stable.
Actually, make sure I put that up.
Are you attracted to stable, safe men?
I am now.
Yeah.
I wasn't before.
But it changed for you.
It did. Yeah. I used to think love was this volatile thing that just, came and went, and it was unpredictable.
Like
just like dad.
Yeah.
And exactly like dad. And this thing that, like when my dad would come around when I was younger, I was like, I will be the most perfect daughter so he will never leave. And
Yes.
I'm just going to sit on his lap and I'm going to tell him, oh, daddy, I miss you so much.
That's the good girl conditioning too. It's like, let me just do that. Yeah.
Exactly. So I thought that's what love was. And that's what I would mimic out in all my relationships, because that's what my nervous system felt was safe. And as human beings, we'll 100% choose a toxic, familiar hell than like an unfamiliar potential paradise.
All right, so back to it. She kind of alluded to it. She now has this shift in her awareness of what was bad for her and what is now good for her. And you're like, we don't feel bad for them. But again, I'm trying to say, like, whether it's the athletes or the guys that get access to a lot of women, it's unusual that people who have access to an inordinate amount of anything that's valuable won't try to do what they can to get exactly what it is that they want with that power. It's unusual. Does everybody do it? No, but a lot of people do. And it's not just women that do it. So when it comes to gradual awareness and the time and effect issue, when Mother Nature and Father Time stops by for a visit, women start to unfortunately begin to wake up. As women move into their late 20s and early 30s, psychological priorities often begin shifting. Drivers include biological awareness of fertility timelines. You don't have to worry about that at 21. You're still not thinking about it quite as much as 25. You are going to start thinking about it at 29, 30. And you absolutely are going to start freaking out at 33 to 35. So between this propaganda, the social media, the downplaying of the role of being a mother and being a wife and marriage and even being it's having a boyfriend embarrassing, like there's so much propaganda for so long in their adulthood that they get to a point in place where they didn't really have to prioritize thinking about some of these things. Peers entering long-term relationships, you start women in their late 20s and 30s that weren't caring about or prioritizing some of these things, all of a sudden start looking on social media and looking at their friends and looking at other people that they grew up with or know or went to school or high school with. And they start seeing other people starting to pair up, other people starting to get out the quote unquote street. Their peers are entering long-term relationships and they're still out there. And then the thing that they had told themselves for the last decade, from 20 to 30, or from 18 to 28, oh, this is what I'm going to do the next 30, 40 years of my life. Some of them start realizing, work is not what I thought it was going to be. The career is not what I thought it was going to be. Do I really want to work this hard and bust my ass for a corporation and not have anything to show for it when I'm at the end of my life, other than a retirement check? They start to have this shift and biology starts to kick back in for a lot of them. And the thing that they kept being told and telling themselves that would add so much meaning to their lives, man, you see it again and again and again. How many videos have you guys seen with these ladies sitting in cars, crying, talking about they were lied to, bullied into not wanting to be with men, being told that being a wife and a mother is somehow like a form of slavery. And we already mentioned the social comparison. There's just noticeable differences and shifts in attention from men. These things are happening and no one has to tell them. They start sensing it. They start feeling it naturally. All around. Social media, some of the girlfriends might be getting married. People they thought that they look way better than are now getting off the street and they're still out there. And now psychology begins to move from exploration to evaluation. You could imagine the questions that are starting to kind of pop up in their head, right? Even when it comes to how they're analyzing and looking at the types of men that they've been chasing or being chased by all throughout their early 20s. And then the shift starts to happen. The shift from attraction to security. And when this gradual awareness thing starts to kick in, man, earlier priorities, especially when it came to men. Oh, he's got to have charisma, excitement. The questions they would normally be asking would be like, is this exciting? Or am I, I just don't want him to be boring. And now they're shifting to, is this sustainable? Focusing more on social status, emotional intensity, excitement. And then later years, now they're looking more for reliability, emotional stability, financial security, commitment, readiness. The mate selection algorithm is starting to change internally. So I'm going to play something, Ari Lennox. And, some of you, if you've already heard, she kind of alluded to this. Well, first I'm going to just at least show what it was that's basically she said that kind of hones in on this. Now, Ari Lennox, man, shout out to her. She makes some great, great music, but a beautiful woman, talented, wealthy, obviously has options. And she says the thing that countless other women that don't have all the things the box she's checking off are also saying. She says, Ari Lennox says she regrets giving toxic men attention and not the sweet ones now that she's older and not married. It's a shame. I gave the toxic ones so much energy instead of the sweet ones. I see the sweet ones getting married and starting families. And I'm like, that could have been me. They felt boring. We talked about it earlier, man. When they are younger and they have the most options possible, they're chasing charisma and excitement, oftentimes ending up in toxicity, wanting the man that other women want. And they're not nearly prioritizing enough reliability, emotional stability, financial security, and commitment readiness. What I think is happening, whether we want to put it out there was a percentage of women over the last 2 generations that either weren't prepared for this and just ran into it head first as it relates to just dating and going out and figuring things out with their emotions and with their bodies. Or they were told, but when they got away from the people who had told them and trained them, they did what they wanted anyway. The species that's convinced that they're so much smarter than another species and has all these college degrees are the ones that are constantly going through this. They're so smart, but they're being led by their emotions and vibes that they end up getting to a point when they age out, they're getting older, still not having the relational outcomes they want. And now they're reevaluating if perhaps the charisma, the excitement, the social clout, the swag, whatever you want to call it, they're starting to wake up and realize if I ignored all the other important things, it makes sense why I'm ending up at 30, 35, 40, 44, on Pop the Balloon 55, still talking about what they deserve. This is what was going on psychologically. Sounds wild. People could say, oh, I don't understand. I'm telling you. Don't be shocked with what you do with an unlimited amount of money, access to a limited amount of money for a guaranteed decade. It may sound wild to a lot of guys, but if somebody told you you can have as much money as you want, but only for a decade, how many of us will wait till year 8 or year 9 to start stacking it? If I knew I was guaranteed a decade to have as much money as I want, do you know what I would do? Where I would spend that money? Where I would go? What I would experience? And knowing that I can have access to unlimited money in year 8, year 9, and year 10, and still be able to stack, in my mind, still, listen, man, it's a human thing. So let's listen to a real clip of her actually talking about this.
Twin flame.
Yeah.
You 8 down.
Oh, thanks.
Love it. But have you met your match yet?
Oh, never has it ever happened. I feel like I get close but the more I sit with myself, the more I realize I think I have a thing for toxic energy. So I think there's still some more healing that I need to do, because when I look back on all of these energies, it's a shame I gave them so much time and there were sweet energies that I didn't. Yeah. And so now I see those sweet energies getting married and starting families. I'm just like, dang, that probably could have been me if I recognized the security in those individuals at the time. And like now I'm like, yeah, I'm definitely feeling that now. I'm aware that there's something going on. There's something wrong.
What do you think it is that attracts you to like toxic energy?
I think they just seem really exciting at first. The chemistry is incredible.
Jesus. Yeah, man. And again, if you're currently watching, I see that we've got about 180 so people. Feel free to make sure that you like this, Send it to every woman that you know. If one of my mods sees Lady D Flow, don't know how she made it back on the channel. If you guys can kind of kick her out, she's a waste of time. I don't want to deal with her. So if you guys see her comments, feel free to highlight and kind of kick her out. This is for people that actually want to learn, want to grow, and want to at least understand the nuances of how and why it is that women end up often doing what Ari ended up doing as well. So yeah, as we saw, it wasn't quite pretty, to say the least. And what's happening in this shift with Ari and many ladies like her is a pattern recognition phase. When they're younger, they're going off of more so just particular attraction triggers, traits, right? Oh yeah, man, the muscles, he makes me laugh, he's charismatic, he's this, he's that, and they're not focused on the things she was focusing on. And I did see a couple people who was acknowledging it, and this is a key reason why some men are going to end up staying away from these types of ladies. And I want to see if it was Thriller. Yeah, Thriller said it sounds like she still thinks those guys are boring, though. Yep. Just because these ladies are starting to have the quote unquote wake up call doesn't mean that their view of those guys is completely all the way changed. Yes, they may become more aware that they were prioritizing excitement over stability. It doesn't mean that that's really what they truly want even now. And of course, we'll talk about the after effects, what can result as a consequence of these ladies that wake up and have this wake up call, what that is and looks like. But when it comes to the recognition, the pattern recognition phase, what's going on is this can produce, basically, this is what it is, man. And I think this is really good what I'm about to say. It's like after multiple relationships or dating experiences, women often become more aware of repeating patterns, especially ones that aren't working. Now, this can produce two opposite psychological reactions. And this is going to be the key thing that I want us to kind of land in on for this particular episode today. And if you guys want me to do part 2, I'll kind of touch on that at the end, because I actually have 4 more points that I don't think I'm going to be able to wrap up this particular evening, just because I know we have the movie book club at 8:30, which is in about 35 minutes. When women go through what Ari and what's her name? Maya and Melissa Ford and you name it, they typically have 2 strategies, or they really just have 2 reactions, to say the least. The first is a growth path. They end up starting to pursue and establish better boundaries, having clearer standards and emotional maturity, and becoming a lot more realistic and pragmatic about their decision making when it comes to what type of man they're even going to allow to continue to engage with, who they're going to go out with, who they're going to spend time with. They didn't have that level of discernment when they were younger, when they had more options, when they had more flexibility, when they had more power and leverage in the dating market. Younger, fitter, hotter, more fertile. Now, when younger girls are being 18-year-old girls are turning 18. Girls are turning 18 every single day. And now she goes from the one that everybody was turning heads for. And what do you think is happening? What do you think is happening, man? We saw the videos when a drop dead gorgeous woman is standing or walking in a room. All the women's heads and eyes and necks turn and swivel, and you know who's the bad bee in the room. They know. And now the attention is not quite what it used to be. And if they're getting towards that 33, 35, 38, 40-ish territory, danger zone, they're starting to realize they're not getting quite what they used to get. There will always be exceptions to the rule, and this is going to be an important piece from a psychological lens that I did not include in the notes, but I'm going to state. I think a huge reason why a lot of these ladies end up like this, like Ari and others, is because what's actually happening is they all believe that they are the exception to the rule. If you gave me a decade of unlimited attention in my DMs, in my dating apps, at my job, at the mall, in the gym, on my phone, what level of narcissism, arrogance, just it's always there. You're used to it. Many of them have probably been getting this as teenagers, even from grown men when they were children. You don't go 20 years of thinking that, this is just going to end like that. But then it starts to. The guys they want that they were getting access to are now getting less and less. Those guys are now looking at women that's more beautiful, less wrinkles, less weight, still able to give them what it is that they're looking for. And then they're getting the Leonardo DiCaprio treatment. She just turned, I think what is it, like 25 or something? She's too old for me now. That starts to happen. God forbid if you're older and you have a lot of negative experiences with men and you're jaded. You can't trust men because, again, this is the other piece. Remember, we're going to peel it up. There's another path to this that ladies tend to take. Oh, it's time to decenter men, and it doesn't matter in terms of how men. I'm telling you, it is predictable as time itself. When they don't move towards the growth path, they start moving towards the defensive path. A high distrust in men, emotional guardedness, fear of vulnerability, high unrealistic expectations and standards as defense mechanism. And that one we're going to sit in on for a little bit. That last one. Because I see and know exactly what it is these ladies are doing. And I think they think that they're slick. But they're not going to get past me when it comes to describing exactly what it is that they're doing. When women that are older, and I can make sure y'all see me when I say this. When women are older and they haven't gotten the things that they've wanted for long-term relational commitment, when they're guarded, when they're jaded, when they're becoming more and more resistant to want to keep going through the dating, dealing with guy after guy after guy, catching body after body after body, they will start to raise their standards to levels that they know no man can get to, or almost no man can get to, as a way to shield themselves from having to put themselves back out there, to risk having to trust their own judgment and trust the logic and forms of thinking that they've been using that's brought them to this point. I'm going to say it again because I'm going to make sure, I'm going to read it again and I'm going to explain verbatim what I'm saying. High unrealistic standards as a defense mechanism. When you hear older women throwing out outlandish claims, you're 48, you're 52, you have 3-4 different baby daddies. You look nothing how you looked when most men wanted you. And they're saying their standards are higher than it was when they were younger. Don't be convinced all these women are just being delusional. They're actually trying to protect their ego and protect themselves from the risk of them letting themselves down again because they have poor mate selection habits and a track record that's left them disappointed. So because you make really good money, you can't give men children. You've been jaded and disappointed and devastated by the types of men that you've been dealing with. You think that we're all fooled when you throw out these outlandish things that you weren't even able to obtain when you were 22. And now when you're 48, 52, 58, you're now saying that now you deserve that? Do y'all really think Vivica A. Fox today, I didn't put the picture up because I'm not trying to make this a joke. Do y'all really think Vivica A. Fox today can get access in the same way she did to 50 Cent today that she did back then? Let's be honest. You know that, and they know that. When women are setting extremely high, unrealistic standards, simultaneously while they're older, They've hit the wall. They have way less options than they've ever had. And most men that are their age aren't even looking for them. And they start talking about how they feel invisible. They're not getting the same access to things. A whole bunch of younger guys that they really would have never dealt with. Now that's kind of what they know that these guys are good for sex. And they're throwing out these outlandish claims about, if I'm going to settle down, if I'm going to get married, they're making claims and raising the bar so high because they know those men will never, ever come into their world to approach them and ask them out in that way. They know that. So they're saying things as a way to shield themselves from actually having to then go follow through with that. Because then how would she feel if the guy that makes $250,000 a year and is in his prime, 35 years old, 40 years old, making $250,000 or more a year, physically fit, in good shape, healthy, charismatic, good looking, tall, etc., approaches her and asks her out? And what happens if she doesn't make it work with him at that age? Who's then the problem? It's just easier to just throw out these outlandish claims, standards that they know most guys are never going to be able to live up to. And even the guys that have those standards, that are there, they know those guys don't want them. Perfect tactic. Say something ridiculous. Say all the other men are beneath you. And then you never have to follow through on actually having to be able to retain the relationship with one of those types of guys. It's brilliant. It's brilliant. Then they start talking about decentering, and then they start talking about, it wasn't a priority for me, or I really didn't want that. But man, when you get behind the therapy sessions, when you sit long enough in the hair salons, and you hear the stories, there was a time that a lot of them did want the marriage, 2.5 kids, white picket fence. They did. They just wanted it with the men that didn't have the traits for long-term stability, consistency. They saw him as a good D, but not a good father. They saw him as exciting, but not reliable. And before you know it, it doesn't work out. Broken up on, cheated on, property destruction, tearing up cars, clothes, stalking, you name it. Guys in and out of jail that they're dealing with. And then they get to a point, man. Then they get to a point where they're older, more jaded, traumatized, less trusting, walls are up. And then when they're in that defensive place, this is what men now have to go through to try to get access to their heart. I'm going to tell you, ladies, I learned as a guy, as I started to recognize my value, as I started to become more of who I guess I was meant to be and finding my purpose, I learned and realized I didn't need to deal with this. I didn't need to deal with it. As I became more what I was supposed to be, and I deprioritized trying to be the quote unquote guy that everybody or all the women wanted. And I started to reframe, now you got to fit into what I'm building. I learned and noticed guys that have options don't have to wait or deal with women who are struggling or still wrestling with these things below. I can meet your high, unrealistic standards. But guess what? If you can never open up to me, if you're extremely guarded, if I have to constantly jump through hoops to try to get access to see you and connect with you and to talk to you and to get you to open up and get you to trust me, and then you're always treating me based on what happened with other guys in the past, I am good. No need. Because I'm in my prime now. You're not. It's not funny when a rabbit gets the gun. So, shout out to this next person, man, because I have a lot of respect for her. And I've learned and observed that unlike a lot of ladies in this space who hop on these microphones and just destroy and trash men for a whole host of different reasons, some legitimate and a lot not. Her ability to talk about her singleness, her staying to herself, her avoiding and being abstinent, almost never sounds like it's at a way she's describing it in a way where she's a misandrist or just outright hatred for men. But I want you to listen carefully to what she says and why she says her reasons for why she.
A woman as stunning as you are, that is the object of so many men's desire, and you probably have the pick of the litter, which is another thing that they assume.
Wow.
Yeah, girl, I know.
It's not even my focus, and it never has been. My mother's an independent thinker. I've witnessed a divorce, between my parents. I've witnessed all kinds of things. My father is a very attractive man. I've witnessed a lot of things. And it's also not been a safe place in my mind as a little girl. So I've always thought a little different. The white wedding dress, I was very fearful of those things. So I looked elsewhere and probably escaped too much in my work and keep going. But also, I think being independent has forced me to show up for myself and obviously family, friends, and this operation, because I have a mission and I have a vision, but it requires me to be gone. And so that's also very, very much fear-filled, knowing that if I have to be gone 95% of the time and my work calls for me to travel, that must be intimidating. And I also can't show up properly for my significant other. But I'm also now spiritually aligned so much where I know that I'm surrounded by love everywhere I go, right? I'm not seeking. And I know that it will be granted to me in divine time. And I'm not worried about it because my life is full of love. And it comes in so many different forms, not just one person. So I've had to recalibrate my brain and not, I think, govern my life off of this fantasy or illusion that we've all been indoctrinated by or taught by. But when you have a vision as well, and you're fighting for,
say in response to people who look at that and say, oh, I aspire to that.
Not real. I did it. I don't want it. Never want that for myself anymore. That would be the last thing that I advised a young girl to do, to look at, look at men of means being, your saving grace or your safety net. Girls are thriving. Women are thriving. We're outpacing men in every aspect of life.
I've spoken to women before who have a partner who has lots of means, and it contributes, may not be the only reason, but it definitely contributes to their feeling of appreciation to be in the relationship, love for the relationship.
I've dated enough of them that there is a consistency. I call it rich man syndrome. They walk with the attitude and the bravado that they are the breadwinner. And they're the ones that are affording you this luxurious life.
Yeah, man. So like I said, now it's interesting. Two different ladies, two different experiences, two probably different justifications to a degree. And when it came to Maya, man, when I hear her story, I feel bad because I think that's often the case for a lot of ladies where they didn't have greatest examples of what a truly loyal, kind, protective man is and looks like. And they took that with them in how they went about analyzing men and relationships. And unfortunately, when you don't always see what it is that you need to see, it can kind of make you very fearful about what it is that you are supposed to find. And if you even know if you found it. And then you have situations like Melissa Ford, where she was an industry girl. She was in all the videos. She was surrounded by millionaires and rich men. And after they've had their way with her and, things didn't work out, you hear how she's talking. And there's a lot of cope in this. There's a lot of cope in what they say of, I don't need a man and we're outpacing men and we got to decenter men. And listen, man, seeing value and the importance of the opposite sex. It's not about centering them. It's about recognizing you may be here for more than just making money. You may be here for more than just traveling to a new place to post on Instagram. Maybe there's more to your life and purpose. And once you've probably missed that window of expanding what that purpose is looks like, these are often the outcomes. You have the women that are at peace with the decisions they've made, whether because of past trauma, past problematic, relationship choice, mate selection options, trusting the wrong men, trusting their judgment above getting better feedback and advice from others, wasting too much time with the wrong people. Some of them just accept it and move on and don't have to hate men. And then there's others that just constantly carry these just excuse after excuse after excuse, built-in resentment, bitterness, jadedness. And now they're talking, I don't need men. Men aren't important or just this and that. I'm like, fine. But those are the women that we got to stay away from. Romantically. Not in terms of friends, not in terms of business and things like that. They could be totally dope. I have people like that in my family. Totally fine. Good people. But I would not waste an ounce or a second. If I was a guy that wasn't related to him, I wouldn't waste an ounce or a second trying to get either of these ladies. Not because they're not beautiful, but because there's other women that are already where they need to be emotionally to be able to offer reciprocity, to show mutual interest. I don't have to do chasing for 6 months to see potentially if they're even still interested or if they even like me. Because I can do a quick Google search and I can go back in the archives and look at Melissa Ford's track record. There's a whole host of men with a whole host of red flags. Lori Harvey, Kim Kardashian. They're beautiful. They're surrounded by men that make a lot of money. And they prioritize the money. They prioritize the status over the long-term stability. It wasn't about if he's going to be a good or great husband and father. It was about he's exciting and he's at the bracket of status that I love and the people around me would look up to. Now, all of a sudden, men aren't that important. I've moved past that. I bet you have. You didn't move past it when you was riding it. You didn't move past it all the years that you was twerking on the dance videos. It's only after things didn't work out. Now they have these epiphanies. So, let me put this back up. To close out, guys. As ladies begin to get much better when it comes to just this gradual awareness of the time and effect that time is having on them, this can produce biopsychosocial reactions. And when it comes to growth, AARP, gentlemen, and listen, I don't know if I need to trademark this, so I'm gonna tell you this right now. It literally just happened as I was doing the notes, but AARP, gentlemen, is what you're looking for. If you're dealing with women who are 28 and over, this is what you need to look at. AARP, if she is older than 25, if she's had her, experiences, I mean, she's dated people before you, she's not a virgin, she's had experiences. Regardless of what she's done, your focus, and of course you can draw lines at sex work and, getting trains ran, or that's beyond the path. I'm talking about outside of that. You're looking for AARP. Accountability, appreciation, reciprocity, and that she's proud and pleased to be with you. Appreciation, accountability, reciprocity, and that she's proud and pleased to be with you. So the reason why I have hands right there, outside of a man telling a woman, hey, I don't want my, to be shown on social media. I don't want my business out there like that. Outside of those examples, Ladies have no problem sharing on social media damn near everything, even stuff we didn't ask for, right? But when she's on all the trips, when she's everywhere, traveling at these fine dining establishments, shopping, and all you can see is a pair of a man's shoes or his hand, if he didn't tell her, don't show me or show my face, I wonder how proud and pleased she is to show and be. Women that are proud of their men, they're proud of the men that they're with, want to be associated with him, not hide him. So when they're not in AARP growth mode, they're going to move in survival mode, avoidance and fear mode, like Maya. They're going to talk about leverage. So when you look at a lot of those influencers and they're constantly talking about money and resources, and that's it. Not about how to serve, not to how to reciprocate, not about how to appreciate, but what you can get. You're damn near begging. You ain't I tell guys this all the time, man. When women like you, she'll go with you to McDonald's. When women enjoy you, truly like you, they don't mind doing Netflix and chill. You don't have to do the most for the woman that likes you. You do have to do it for the woman that's, I'm gonna put it back up. You do have to do it for the women that's at the bottom. Because this is what they're operating out of based on their past decisions. All those guys I dealt with, and I didn't walk away with a check. I don't got no alimony. So at least this time, the next sucker that comes in, I got to walk away with something, or at least get something if I'm going to deal with him. Highly transactional. And they're ashamed to be with a man like you that they would have never been with when they were younger and in their prime. That's the truth. There are women that made mistakes in the past, just like there's been guys like myself included that's made mistakes in the past. If I had a kid and I, walking around, there's going to be ladies that say, yo, I don't date guys with kids. I got to eat that. I don't date guys that's been married before. I would have to eat that. If I don't deal with women that I know has been running through the streets by a million guys, you got to eat that as a lady. If I see your camel toe on social media, you're never going to meet my mother. If I have to constantly instruct you more than one time about how to dress in terms of when we go out in public and what you decide to show and display, you're not for me. The ladies that had a lot of fun and posted a lot of things, shared a lot of things, and did a lot of things that perhaps they regret or wish they didn't, you're going to have to eat that. But like I said earlier, it is possible that the ladies that choose to move on the growth path will still have options out there, even good ones. So ladies, if you move with better boundaries, clearer standards, you're actually more realistic in terms of where you are and what you're bringing to the table, including baggage. And if you're moving with accepting accountability, you want to know one of the dopest things that I think a lot of ladies don't realize would totally change and at least get a lot of men who would otherwise just judge you and not give you a chance at all? As crazy as it sounds, there's women that may have done some insane things, but the fact that they didn't hide it, the fact that they didn't run from it, the fact that they owned it and respected men that wanted to move past and move on, that actually gives them some points in some guys' eyes. Not all guys' eyes, like mine, it ain't going to work, but it is going to work. It's not going to work on every guy. But if you decide that you want to withhold the fact that you were a sex worker and he got to find that out after the fact, if you want to, lie and say your body count is 3, and then he's walking in the rooms and men are giving him a heads up And when we go into establishments, the bouncers know who you are, the DJ know who you are, ma'am. He's going to start to think, man, you're not his. It's just his time. So it's leading with AARP. So the wall, y'all, from my personal definition, what people call the wall is often not a sudden decline, but a subtle sociological, biological wake-up call and psychological transition between two mating strategies. Early strategy, exploration, attraction, and validation are the primary things that they are looking for. But if they don't get what they want when they're younger, they're going to start to set those things to the side and look more for stability, compatibility, and partnership. Whether it's right or wrong is up to how you all feel. But I will say this. If she's showing the things above, you may be open to it. But if she's still functioning with the things at the bottom, it would be in your best interest to run. Because when she's looking for stability from you, especially financially, she's not going to offer appreciation and reciprocity to you. So this was part one, y'all. I hope that this was helpful. And I definitely want to know in the chat if y'all are interested in me doing a part two, even this week, because I have another set of notes and I've already done about almost an hour and a half. And I hope that this was helpful. But for part two, if I am to do it, feel free to kind of put a 2 in the chat. So one, these are my 3 requests. Please make sure that you like this video if you haven't done so. Number 2, that you guys send it to as many people as you honestly can, especially women, especially young girls and daughters if you have them. Because if we do a part 2, I'm going to go into these things. Why it is how the market really works, the emotional fatigue factor, why it is they start to end up like Maya, how they start to find God and needing to heal and finding myself phase, and how they've been shifting from the identity phase that was heavily rooted in just independence to looking more towards interdependence or partnership tension. And now how their entire reality starts to reframe and what it is and how that kind of looks what that looks like in essence. So again, man, I thank you all. I thank you all for kind of tuning in. I'm about to get ready real quick for our movie book club. So I hope this was helpful. Please make sure you guys like it. Send it to everybody that you know. I want to see better relationships. I want to see better decision making. And I want to see both men and women looking for better things in each other to warrant us giving access to resources and our bodies to each other. So guys, I hope that this was helpful. To the ladies that I've used as examples in this, sometimes I've laughed in the past, but in this particular episode, it's not really funny because I realized that from a human level, many of us have had opportunities as Americans where we, people from other countries that have way less look at us and think we waste so much. Athletes spend so much on things they shouldn't. And I think that, it's okay to acknowledge, when we're giving too many things in an age that we probably shouldn't have access to, a lot of us are probably going to make really poor decisions. It just so happens to be right now that a lot of the ladies are going through this. Doesn't mean we all got to be bailout kings. But let's not assume that every lady that's made poor decisions in the past, she's absolutely 100% guaranteed to not be a good investment later on. And don't assume that women who were good girls all along won't switch up. So, we got to look at the full spectrum of not just people's history, but also how they're presently showing up. And like I said, man, if you're getting AARP from any woman anywhere in the world, that's something that I think to really pay attention to. She may have a kid. She may be older than you would like. Doesn't mean that she's nothing. Your hairline may not be the greatest. Your teeth may not be right. Doesn't mean that you won't be the greatest man she's ever known. So I hope that this was helpful. Like I said, guys, if you want a part 2, let me know. And I'm excited to see where this is going to go. So thanks, everybody. Please, please, please become a subscriber. Definitely become a member if you want more and more of this type of stuff. like I said, more and more stuff is to come. See those of you who are going to be tuning in and switching over. Click on the link if you want to join and be a member of our movie book club, which starts in 2 minutes. Oh, Lord. And then also on the flip side, tomorrow we have our men's virtual self-improvement group. If you're interested, feel free to click the link, join. We meet every Tuesday at 7 Eastern Standard Time. Movie book clubs is 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. So again, guys, thank you. Thank you for tuning in. I'm going to see y'all on the other side. And thank you. I hope that this was helpful. So again, please share it to every woman and girl that you know. And let's try to do our part to kind of change things. Peace.